only genuine wealthy people that are constantly doing everything they can to help other people. Because a lot of people critique Mr. Beast saying he's only doing this for attention and views. They can't wrap their head around the idea that maybe he actually just likes to help people, so they just try and attack this made up idea of who he is. He's only doing it for views and attention, because he is exactly the kind of wealthy person people have been begging for. Everyone wants a wealthy person who's extremely generous to the community and doing things to help the community. And we have that with Mr. Beast, and he is making his own organizations that are extremely efficient at it. Like, what more could you possibly want? He is doing it full time, off camera, because he is genuinely just trying to help people. And he is still getting blasted on Twitter because he spent a lot of money on a Squid Game video, where the money from that Squid Game video will most likely directly go into his philanthropy, which will in turn help a lot of people.
YouTube star Mr. Beast criticized for $3.5 million real-life Squid Game. The social media star stirred up controversy after sharing the 25-minute long video of Squid Game, in which 456 contestants battled it out to win $456,000. And this just set me off, because the whole thing here, right, fundamentally is basically that Mr. Beast hasn't donated enough, or should have just taken the money he was going to spend on this and just donated it to charity. Now, of course, if these people had done an ounce of research, they'd know that's what Mr. Beast is known for doing. His entire brand is donating to charity. So the irony is he wouldn't be able to donate so much money if he didn't do the videos that he did. The guy's entire brand is built around giving money, and it's not even just on camera. I mean, I personally talked to Mr. Beast. I know a ton of people who have met him too, and everyone just says the same thing. Off camera, on camera, he's just a really genuine guy trying to help. And it's even to the point where people criticizing him seem self-aware of the fact that, yeah, this is super unpopular to say, and there's almost nothing controversial here, but I'm going to still find a reason to criticize this guy anyway.
And the first thing that we're going to talk about today is this massive controversy and scandal around one of the biggest creators on pretty much any platform, Mr. Beast, aka 22-year-old Jimmy Donaldson. Right, most all of this stemming from a New York Times piece that was released yesterday that some have referred to as a really interesting profile into the other side of Mr. Beast that people don't see, to others just calling it a straight out ridiculous hit piece. It is essentially where we are with this story, and as far as my opinion, just to be transparent, I have a Mr. Beast bias. I personally think that Mr. Beast is one of the most exciting people to watch in our space right now. I think he's pushing our industry further. Everything that I've seen makes me feel like he is a good guy, and he's not just doing it for showmanship, whether it be Mr. Beast philanthropy or other stuff. Though I guess if you're being a cynic about it, you could say that he's using that as a way to shield himself from any kind of future hits. Also, that's not to say that I agree with everything that he's done. Because the Times piece doesn't really fully address and dive into the flip-flop nature of Turner's claims, it ends up feeling like a hit piece. And hey, I don't have a perfect track record in calling these things. It's also probably the reason why I get so angry when I'm kind of proven wrong, when I think someone was a good person. But Mr. Beast, to me, in no way feels like a bad actor.
Take a look at this picture on screen. This is the lineup to the latest Mr. Beast video. Now, if you follow a lot of YouTubers, you might see someone you like on here. You have a lot of famous people. And you also have certain members of the Mr. Beast Defense Squad. And the president of the Mr. Beast Defense Squad, Moist Critikal, is present. But you also just have a lot of general famous people. And it's fair to say, not many of these people have had a bad word to say about Mr. Beast over the past, let's say, 4 years of controversy since I began calling him out. Now, you guys probably saw my last video. It did very well. And it's funny actually watching like other Mr. Beast videos and people saying that I've been calling him out the longest. Because yeah, I'd never liked that guy. But also, because I've been calling him out the longest, I know the frustration of having legitimate criticisms of someone and being shut down really quickly because another way larger creator has put out an argument that is really stupid, but because all of them do it together, that becomes the narrative, and that becomes the pushback to videos like the ones I've made over the last 4 years. And people like Moist Critikal, people like DeFranco, even people like Coffeezilla, all these people have made videos, and basically the argument they put forward is Mr. Beast good because he gives to charity. And as we know, if you give to charity, you actually can't do anything wrong ever. That is just the ultimate sign of a good person. And it's actually interesting because for the creators we're going to cover today in what I call the Mr. Beast Defense Squad, who deploy whenever Mr. Beast is getting some pushback, I think they all do it for different reasons. I do think clout, money, fame, and the potential collaboration with Mr. Beast is in the minds of most of them. Let's keep it real. But I also think some of these people are just stupid. And I actually got like a fair bit of pushback in my last video because they're like, why are you making this political, bro? Like, why did you bring politics into this video? First of all, you know, I am just straight up a politics channel. But at the same time is the reason I was the guy who called out Mr. Beast first is because I care about politics from a left-wing perspective. And primarily, I care about both like exploitation of poverty. I don't like rich people generally because they exploit poverty or exploit workers to get rich in the first place. And also I know there isn't really a single multi-millionaire person who does charity that is actually like a good person, right? My skepticism of Mr. Beast came from my left-wing politics. And it's probably not surprising that the main people who have always had a problem with Mr. Beast were left-wing people. And we just got proven right. And I said in my video, it's not because I'm the Muad'Dib, which I'd like to believe I am. It's because I just have consistent politics, and it doesn't matter if it's Mr. Beast or David Dobrik. I called them both out because I just hated the way they acted, and I hated this use of money for show on YouTube. And I'm glad I've been vindicated, and I'm just saying to people, it's political. And what we're going to talk about today, again, we'll talk about workers' rights. It's political. Who are the people that fought for your workers' rights? Who are the people who fought for the rights you enjoy today in your society? It wasn't conservative capitalists. It wasn't libertarian capitalists like Mr. Beast. It was left-wing workers. Politics is basically everything. Politics isn't simply talking about who's going to become the American president, right? It's about everything that affects our lives. And I think a lot of these people who are in the Mr. Beast Defense Squad fundamentally lack a coherent political ideology. And even someone like Coffeezilla, who makes all these videos about scams bad, like, what does he actually believe in beyond that? It's very easy to say scams bad, but if you don't have a certain ideology motivating your like crusade against, you know, Bitcoin scams and stuff like that, then you just end up with situations where Coffeezilla doesn't give a shit about the crypto stuff involving Mr. Beast, has Mr. Beast on his channel, and then defends Mr. Beast from all criticism. Now, there's so many people I could talk about in this video. I could talk about Asmongold, I could talk about Mutahar, some ordinary gamers, people who do constantly deploy. And actually right now, Asmongold's own audience are giving him shit because he won't criticize Mr. Beast even on the video made by Dogpack404, which shows all the manipulation Mr. Beast has done. Like, he still won't call Mr. Beast a bad guy. And Moist Critical is similar in that he's talking about the Ava Tyson stuff, but he has constantly ignored all the terrible shit that's come out about Mr. Beast himself over the years for a variety of reasons. I want to talk about all of those reasons today, but yeah, anyone giving me pushback on the last video for getting political, you're just in the wrong place if you don't want me to get political. I literally had a massive sign saying sanctions on Israel in the background while wearing a Palestino shirt. Like, where do you think you are? But yeah, before we go any further, if you want to support my work on longer videos, consider becoming a patron, trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible. And benefits include early access to certain videos and also access to the private patrons Discord server. And also follow me on social media, mainly on Instagram and yeah, just pretty much everywhere, but that's the main one. So now let's get into the video. So, allegations that Mr. Beast wasn't a great guy to work for have been going round for a long time, and he had an old video editor called Matt Turner who was the first one to come forward. And basically what happened is he became a bit of a scapegoat because his story was a bit inconsistent, and seemingly his characterization of the workplace was quite inconsistent because he was talking about how it was hard and how he was a perfectionist, talking about how, you know, Mr. Beast would say certain like ableist slurs and stuff like that, but also talking about how Mr. Beast helped him with money and stuff. So people like, bro, like, why are you complaining about that? But obviously in hindsight, all of these people seem vindicated. But in 2021, and I covered this back in 2021 because I've always covered this Mr. Beast stuff, Taylor Lorenz wrote a big long feature where she just talked about loads of things to do with Mr. Beast, but she also talked to a lot of people who had worked for Mr. Beast. And this is when there was more concrete evidence of Mr. Beast creating a toxic work environment. And Matt Turner was interviewed as part of this, but so were 10 other people who went on the record and people who didn't. And they all talked about how hard it was to work for Mr. Beast. Emulating his favorite tech billionaire, in that he's also treating his employees really badly, allegedly, according to a New York Times report. So business as usual. In Greenville, many went to work for Mr. Donaldson because of the philanthropic nature of his videos, said 11 people who worked for or with him, 4 of whom asked to remain anonymous because they had signed confidentiality agreements. While he was sometimes generous, they said, his demeanor changed when the cameras weren't around. They described a difficult work environment. Matt Turner, 20, an editor for Mr. Donaldson from February 2018 to September 2019, said Mr. Donaldson had berated him almost every day. Mr. Donaldson often called him by the phrase used to insult people with mental disabilities. Mr. Turner said, leaving him in tears. What a lovely guy this is. Mr. Turner, who did not grow up with Mr. Donaldson, said that while his boss regularly featured his hometown friends in videos, he had struggled to get acknowledgement. I was not credited for anything I did. I'd ask for credit, he'd credit someone else. Nate Anderson, 22, who moved to Greenville to work for Mr. Donaldson in March 2018, quit after a week over what he said were unreasonable demands. He said Mr. Donaldson was a perfectionist. Nothing ever worked for him, Mr. Anderson said. He always wanted it a certain way. Mr. Anderson later uploaded to his YouTube channel a tell-all video, My Experience Editing for Mr. Beast, which he said he had hateful comments from Mr. Beast's dedicated fans, many of whom are children. I've experienced that myself. Mr. Turner had a similar experience. These kids don't even know what they're saying. They're just in this cult of YouTube stardom where they don't want to see their biggest creator fall. Now, I also saw people say recently he on purpose doesn't use unionized labor, which I'm really not surprised at all about. And obviously we had all that stuff recently about the Vegas shoot that he's running right now for his Amazon Prime show and how the conditions are terrible for both the contestants and the workers. As a left-wing person, I hate Mr. Beast for that. He doesn't treat his workers well, and he's made his fame and fortune off exploiting workers who have made him who he is today. But this video is about how the narratives challenging Mr. Beast were always quickly shut down by YouTubers in his orbit. And like I said, most YouTubers didn't talk about this. Moist Critikal didn't talk about this. Loads of like the Mr. Beast fan club and Defense Squad didn't actually talk about this. They didn't shut it down. But one person did, and Philip DeFranco has expressed that he likes Mr. Beast for a long, long time. Obviously, Philip DeFranco is so boring. He deliberately positions himself as a centrist on most things, like a left-leaning centrist, but his videos are basically designed to appeal to pretty much everyone who's not a conservative. But funnily enough, one of the few times he actually did take a concrete political stance in the last few years was actually to attack Taylor Lorenz for the article and basically say it was a hit piece. He covered the article, which he already downplayed the worker abuse at Mr. Beast's company, but then he took to Twitter to actually attack Taylor Lorenz. So let's first take a look at his initial coverage and then look at the tweets.
The Times claiming that his corporate entities have been rife with favoritism and bullying. As far as the other side of this, you had Mr. Beast reportedly not commenting to the Times on the story, a representative declining to talk about the workplace allegations, but also now we're seeing a lot of pushback on social media against the claims in the Times article. And that's because of a now deleted video from Turner, who of course is one of the main accusers in this article, starting to circulate. And in that video, he paints a drastically different picture, calling it a dream job, recommending others work there, also pushing back against that video, saying this isn't coming out of nowhere, that Turner actually allegedly shared tweets describing a negative experience, that he posted videos as well. And while of course those have since been deleted, there are of course re-uploads, including one video where he tells a story about Mr. Beast being unhappy with him and wiping an entire video that he was in. And in that video, according to the re-uploads, he claimed that he only posted the positive things to clout chase because he was afraid of what would happen if he spoke negatively about the situation. But then, obviously because he said that there, you have people pushing back and saying, well, isn't he just clout chasing in the New York Times now? And that is essentially where we are with this story. And as far as my opinion, just to be transparent, I have a Mr. Beast bias. I personally think that Mr. Beast is one of the most exciting people to watch in our space right now. I think he's pushing our industry further. Everything that I've seen makes me feel like he is a good guy, and he's not just doing it for showmanship, whether it be Mr. Beast philanthropy or other stuff. And it's hard to have any sort of solid opinion when one of the main people speaking out is this Turner kid, right? When you have someone who has publicly said, I said something that was not true because I was clout chasing, it understandably is going to make people skeptical about what you are claiming, right? Are you telling the truth or are you lying? Are you kind of telling the truth, but you're embellishing a lot? We don't know. Because the Times piece doesn't really fully address and dive into the flip-flop nature of Turner's claims, it ends up feeling like a hit piece. And hey, I don't have a perfect track record in calling these things. It's also probably the reason why I get so angry when I'm kind of proven wrong, when I think someone was a good person. But Mr. Beast to me in no way feels like a bad actor.
So the gist of Philip DeFranco's coverage was the whole article was a hit piece because this one guy is a bit of an unreliable witness, I guess. Although I will say, someone putting out a video detailing how they were treated terribly by the biggest YouTuber and then quickly deleting it and then saying a bunch of nice things about him, I don't think necessarily that makes them unreliable. It seems to be like pretty rational behavior in terms of like self-preservation as a YouTuber's video editor. But at the same time, even if we take that as a fact, like this guy is unreliable and you shouldn't believe him actually. You shouldn't believe this original guy who came forward. There's also loads of other people who came forward as well in the article. But Philip DeFranco not only downplays that, like I said, he then goes to Twitter to actually attack Taylor Lorenz. So let's look at these tweets.
Again, these tweets have since been deleted, but we got some screenshots for you. Sharing Phil's video, she tagged him tweeting, I quote, "This video is frustrating and wrong. Turner is not the main person speaking out." As the story says, this report was based on interviews with 11 former employees and business associates of Mr. Beast, which you failed to mention. She followed up with, I quote, "Calling my reporting a hit piece when you ignore the reporting mentioned in the actual story and misrepresent the claims is dishonest and rude. If you have any questions about my stories or reporting process, my DMs are open and I'm always happy to have a conversation." In response, Phil tweeted Taylor's initial tweet and captioned, I quote, "Taylor, just be honest, you made a thinly veiled hit piece on Mr. Beast, so you can still get the outrage clicks while still making it like that wasn't the whole point of your article, so YouTubers would still trust talking with you." Taylor then responded by retweeting Phil's tweet, calling him out with, I quote, "This is a gross misrepresentation from a big creator who purports to support journalism. 11 former workers for Mr. Beast spoke out for my piece. Phil calling those workers liars says it all. Big creators like Phil don't want accountability in the industry, you have to ask why." Taylor would continue to call Phil out and at one point compare him to the likes of Jake Paul, which would get a response from him. Once tweeted the one that started with, I quote, "These large creators like Phil DeFranco, Jake Paul, etc." and captioned it, I quote, "LOL, I'm just like Jake Paul now apparently. Jesus fucking Christ, how stupid."
If you want a good summation of the difference between a liberal and a leftist, I think that is a good one there of Philip DeFranco doing the work of millionaires to attack a journalist for exposing poor working conditions at the biggest YouTuber's company, right? Where allegedly they're not unionized and they're probably not paid that great, but I imagine a lot of the manipulation comes from as well that they're all fans of Mr. Beast and want to work for him. So that's who Philip DeFranco is, right? This guy who will shut down criticism, and this narrative about Mr. Beast never really took hold in 2021. Like people like me would talk about it, but now people are acting like they're so surprised. Oh, Mr. Beast is running Vegas like real life Squid Game and he's treating his workers bad and the contestants bad. Oh my God, I'm so shocked that wholesome Kino Keanu Mr. Beast would do that. But there was people talking about this years ago. You just didn't want to listen. And that's why I said in the first video I made, left-wing people were proven right because we care about workers. We care about the conditions of workers and we care about people extracting wealth off their backs to make themselves successful. So that's why we called them out first and you guys didn't because, yeah, a lot of conservatives and even Philly D proven right there, loads of liberals don't give a shit and will actually attack you if you bring this up and you criticize their fave creator. So that is a first glimpse at the Mr. Beast defense squad. And what this does basically is when you have big creators either not talking about this specific article or attacking the journalist who wrote it, what do you think everyone's going to think of Mr. Beast? You're basically saying, oh yeah, this article is a hit piece from mainstream media against YouTubers. Of course, loads of general people on the internet are going to trust you, Philip DeFranco, because they get their news and politics from you regurgitating actual hard work of journalists. And then they're just going to think, oh yeah, Mr. Beast actually is okay. That story was a lie because the Mr. Beast defense squad told me. Now, obviously another controversy was Mr. Beast recreating Squid Game. And I made a couple videos on that back in the day. Like, I just thought it was really fucking stupid and also just says everything about capitalist creator bros. They can't think of anything original. Like, you literally have to rip off something, and you have to rip off something that literally was made because a guy was trapped by the brutal South Korean debt, which so many Koreans face. and he wrote an anti-capitalist piece of work about his own experience and all the experiences of people he knew. And then you take that and make like a game show format, which often, as we've seen with Mr. Beast's own content, is driven by people in poverty wanting to become a celebrity or win this money, and then you repackage it as your own. And in the video, I always find it so funny, he couldn't even shout out the actual creator of Squid Game.
Congratulations on winning. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. You have 7 days to win $10,000. And obviously, massive shout out to the creator of Squid Game. We took huge inspiration from the show, and I genuinely appreciate you. Goodbye.
And I seriously doubt Mr. Beast actually ever watched Squid Game. And now it's so ironic that, of course, this Vegas thing that he's doing right now, it literally is Squid Game. He is literally doing Squid Game right now after making his fake one. But of course, Philip DeFranco, like so many others, shut it down quick. You cannot criticize Mr. Beast using Squid Game for his own ends.
You know, the first thing that we're going to talk about today is this crazy controversy and debate regarding Mr. Beast and his now absolutely massive Squid Game video. And if you watched last Wednesday's Philip DeFranco show, you know I was very excited for this video. I said it's kind of the YouTube equivalent of a big blockbuster Thanksgiving weekend release, saying how it really highlights how independent creators these days can go from several years ago recording a random video in their room to doing a production that's like $3.5 million. Well, the video is popular. It's a reductive ripoff of the original, not a triumph for the quote creator economy. With Gita Jackson writing that it's bizarre to watch Mr. Beast and former YouTube executives celebrate its popularity as a huge success for so-called quote creators, saying that this video doesn't just badly misunderstand the anti-capitalist message of Squid Game, it's a literal recreation of the villain's ultimate desire to watch desperate people compete for money purely for his amusement. And adding, more than just bizarre, Mr. Beast's Squid Game highlights a fundamental problem of YouTube. There is no shortage of people who make original art and put it online, but the internet is dominated instead by people who can take advantage of existing properties and fan bases. This is a particular problem on YouTube, where people film themselves literally reacting to things or laughing at other people's memes and making a lot of money off of it. This video is no different from those. I think the Vice piece is unsurprisingly but annoyingly dismissive of online creators, or what they call so-called creators. And the idea that Mr. Beast is recreating the villain's ultimate desire of seeing desperate people play for his amusement. Well, one, the main difference is in the show, people die. That's how desperate they are. That's a big part of the commentary. And two, if you have such a problem with it, then cancel all game shows ever. And I truly do believe this was an amazing feat to see someone that, once again, 4 or 5 years ago, his videos were like him saying Logan Paul 100,000 times on camera. Based off of the choices he has made over the years, he's now in a place where he can put out this thing.
So yeah, Philip DeFranco, they're just like defending this stuff. And it's not like obviously the worst thing Mr. Beast has done, it's just fucking stupid. But now let's get into the commander of the Mr. Beast Defense Squad, the president of the Mr. Beast fan club, and that is Moist Critical. Now, I actually made a whole video on this back in 2021 because I just found it so hilarious how he wasn't even like defending Mr. Beast from like the criticisms that you've seen of his charity content. He literally just went on a rant about why Mr. Beast is awesome because people were criticizing the Squid Game stuff. Now, if you want some background about Moist Critical, it seems like he's at least on good terms with Mr. Beast. He actually collaborated with Mr. Beast on Mr. Beast Burger, which has been like a total fucking disaster. But yeah, Mr. Beast had a burger named after Moist Critical. You'd imagine that, you know, Moist Critical made some money off that. There's a whole video on his channel of him trying all the Mr. Beast burgers, which I'm pretty sure isn't a paid ad. But if you actually have a product at the burger chain, which you make money off, seems pretty shady anyway. But anyway, loads of people on Twitter were obviously criticizing Mr. Beast. And here comes a characterization you would have heard a lot of times. Mr. Beast only makes expensive videos so he can make money to put it back into his charity work. Like, this has been one of the most common and fucking dumbest arguments I've seen over the years, and people leave on my videos. The thought that some guy who became famous for doing viral stupid challenges cares so much about charity, he just puts all his money back into charity. It's so stupid. So stupid. How were you all so naive to believe this? But again, people look up to influencers for views on stuff, right? Especially dumbass teenagers. They see Moist Critical saying this, they just regurgitate it. And it's very easy to often see that people do this in the comments of my video. They just regurgitate the opinion of their favorite streamer. In response to this criticism, Moist Critical then just goes on a rant about Mr. Beast being the best rich guy we could ever ask for, and why are we even criticizing him? He's just such a nice guy. And I think this is probably the best example of what I talk about when I say the Mr. Beast Defense Squad, because there's so many videos on the internet from all the big YouTubers that sound exactly like this.
Hot take, but I feel once you've reached this level of wealth, maybe you should be using said wealth to benefit the impoverished and not use it to recreate a show that is a direct critique of the exact thing being done here, but hey, that's just me. This is in reference to Mr. Beast and his upcoming Squid Game video. This is not a hot take, this is a dumb take. What's interesting is, the Squid Game money and all that's generated for Netflix will never go to helping people, but Mr. Beast making this Squid Game video and the money that will make will directly go to food banks that Mr. Beast owns and helps people with. So they chose someone who is literally going to be helping people with the money the Squid Game makes, instead of the Squid Game itself, which was 10 times what Mr. Beast spent and will never help anyone in the community. One of the only wealthy people in general who are constantly helping the community and people around him. Again, focus on the stuff he does off camera real quick, because a lot of people critique Mr. Beast saying he's only doing this for attention and views. They can't wrap their head around the idea that maybe he actually just likes to help people, so they just try and attack this made up idea of who he is. He's only doing it for views and attention, because he is exactly the kind of wealthy person people have been begging for, and he's still getting shit for it. Everyone wants a wealthy person who's extremely generous to the community and doing things to help the community, and we have that with Mr. Beast, and he is still getting shit for it. Blows my mind. Where the money from that Squid Game video will most likely directly go into his philanthropy, which will in turn help a lot of people, and still getting shit for it.
So if I wanted to show someone a video that helped give Mr. Beast a pass for so long, it would be this video right here. Because how many people have you heard, if you've criticized Mr. Beast, say the exact same shit as Critikal here back to you? Basically making Mr. Beast's whole existence seeming like it's just designed to be a self-sustaining charity. Like, Mr. Beast only does it because he's such a good guy. He only makes videos to do charity work. This is just so fucking insane. And that's why I'm so happy recently with some of the new testimony from people who'd worked for him. He does live a very lavish lifestyle. He's always characterized himself as someone who's very humble, basically like a monk on a mountaintop. And now it's come out, yeah, he has like really expensive house, has like a massive team of assistants, personal trainer, personal chefs on demand all the time, and enjoying all the wealth he's accumulated, right? So this just looks so stupid in hindsight, and combined with the other stuff, yeah, it's also based on worker exploitation. He treats his workers like garbage, and he treats contestants like fucking shit as well. It's not surprising to anyone. And like I said earlier, doing charity work does not make people fucking immune to criticism at all, and it doesn't whitewash the other shit you do. Like, all the shit Mr. Beast has done now, is that somehow mitigated by him doing charity work on a charity channel? And also, as we know, with Millionaire charity in the US, you can get massive tax write-offs, right? And I say that now, knowing no one's going to have a problem with me saying that. There's going to be really no comments criticizing me for my take right now. I've been saying this for years and getting so much fucking hate because, again, people just regurgitate the opinions of their favorite YouTubers. So when the Mr. Beast Defense Squad deploys and Critikal has a take like this, basically becoming his lawyer, defending him from any and all criticism, making him out to be a saint, and yeah, loads of people just fucking think that because they don't have critical thinking skills and they don't have any coherent political ideology that makes them suspicious of wealthy people filming themselves doing good things and also spending loads and loads of money on ridiculous stunts. And we were meant to buy that it was all just done for the good of humanity, for charity work. It seems so stupid, doesn't it? Now you think about it, you watching this, who maybe defended Mr. Beast's like charity work, but yeah, it was in our face for everyone. And yeah, thankfully now we're seeing that he isn't a good guy, but this is what we've had to deal with for years. And yeah, Critikal is in the latest Mr. Beast video. If he had called Mr. Beast out for treating his workers like crap, would he be in the Mr. Beast video? So with Critikal, I don't think he's like the worst person ever on YouTube. I think he's just dumb. And I also think he has the financial interest and maybe the relationship interest of Mr. Beast to not criticize him. And what I mean when he's dumb is he's just so fucking naive. Him and Asmongold are like two sides of the same coin. Asmongold's the right-wing version. He's like the center-left version. Their takes are really just like the most surface-level shit you've ever heard. Like, yeah, you saw Mr. Beast do charity good, Mr. Beast good, anyone who criticizes that is bad. Like, that is the worldview they have. Not surprising when all these people become millionaires when they're like in their early 20s, they're super detached from reality. But yeah, again, This is basically the only videos he's made. And recently he has made a video about Ava Tyson, but it's mainly focused on Ava Tyson. And he even says in the video, like we don't know how much Mr. Beast knew. And he's in the most recent Mr. Beast video. But Critikal also covered Mr. Beast again when we were criticizing him for the Eyesight video, basically downplaying the criticism and acting as the Mr. Beast Defense Squad commander once again. And this was last year, I believe.
The thing with Mr. Beast is he does do a lot of great his community in private. So when he does do these public displays of doing good things, I never get the impression that it's inauthentic or coming from a place of trying to, you know, capitalize on the back of suffering or anything like that. Like, of course, you can obviously tell it grows his brand, so it is mutually beneficial. Him doing good deeds does also benefit him, maybe not financially, but in terms of like subscribers and all of that, it does help him. But both things can be true, that he could be genuinely wanting to help people while it also helping himself. But I feel like Mr. Beast, given his track record, has shown that he does these things to hopefully inspire others, and the money he makes from this content usually goes into other things that help other people, like Mr. Beast philanthropy, for example. So it's always fueling a greater good regardless. But something that is important to point out is that, yes, it does grow his brand. He benefits from this. Even if it's not financially, he obviously is going to take a huge net loss on this because of the price of these surgeries. His brand does grow from it. But I ask, is that a bad thing? For so long, people have called for positive role models to be the people that are successful and popular. And now you have someone like Mr. Beast, who is the biggest YouTuber, and almost all of his content is focused on improving other people's lives. Well, there's plenty to be mad about with the core problem here, which is these people should have already had access to this treatment without Mr. Beast needing to make a video on it. And I'm so tired of hearing this term poverty tourism tossed around when talking about Mr. Beast. It just shows such a gross misunderstanding of what that even means. To try and slap that label on what Mr. Beast does is so off the mark. The worms in your brain must be suffering from parasites. Like, there is so much wrong in your noodle to possibly even think for a second this could be considered poverty tourism.
So even Critikal there responding to like criticisms I've made at Mr. Beast's charity work is like poverty tourism. And if you go up to someone who needs medical assistance and say, I'm going to pay for your treatment, but I have to film you at every single stage so you can be in a YouTube video I make, which will make me look really good and generate me loads of money, like, what else do you want to call it? That person is obviously going to say yes, aren't they? You're obviously exploiting their economic situation to basically coerce them into a video. And Mr. Beast has also done videos in, you know, what he calls Africa, which takes place in places like Cameroon and South Africa, which, you know, I've said in multiple videos, white savior going to rural African village to give them water was outdated maybe like 15 years ago, and people realized the issues with it. But then Mr. Beast just repackaged it to his young audience who think he's the savior of humanity for doing this shit. I can't wait until he's president, because he's told me he'd only do the good things and never do the bad things. Really, I'm just thinking about this now. On relationship Reddit, or just general Reddit, you see the sentiment that, you know, judge someone by how they treat the wait staff at a restaurant. Judge their real character. For Mr. Beast, I judge him by how he treats his workforce. And that's probably one of the most important things to me. And yeah, he's notorious for treating them badly. So am I supposed to believe a rich man doing charity work but treating those people who make him who he is badly, that makes him a good guy, and this isn't a carefully cultivated strategy to downplay any criticism of him, because whether they know it or not, the Mr. Beast Defense Squad activate and come in and start criticizing anyone like me who've criticized him for years, calling us stupid, and they have massive followings. So therefore, millions of people start calling us stupid for even having a problem with this. And yeah, this is how Mr. Beast has got away with everything for years and years and years, and no one has cared, because the voices criticizing him have always been massively dogpiled because of people like Philip DeFranco, Moist Critikal, Asmongold, Some Ordinary Gamers, Boogie, like basically fucking everyone, the YouTube hive mind. Now, there's one more person I want to touch on. Now, this guy hasn't been prolific in the Mr. Beast Defense Squad, but I do find him interesting. So, Coffeezilla, like, his videos are okay, sometimes interesting. He's obviously known as the anti-scam guy, someone who make videos on scammers, and of course, become notorious for his feud with Logan Paul, and Logan Paul was actually suing him for defamation because he's been exposing Logan Paul's own crypto scams. So imagine my surprise when I go back to the infamous now for a lot of people, a video of Logan Paul and Mr. Beast bragging about doing a pump and dump with Gary Vee and loads of rich people, to only see Coffeezilla not only ever mention this in his criticism of Logan Paul, he actually collaborated with Mr. Beast afterwards. So let's look at the original Logan Paul clip, because it's just posted on Logan Paul's like podcast YouTube. They weren't even trying to hide this, but it just seems so blatantly illegal, especially now we know everything we do about Logan Paul's. But have a look at this clip. So the guy on the podcast basically saying, oh yeah, did you guys make loads of money because you did market manipulation? And they're kind of been like, oh yeah, maybe we did. And think of Mr. Beast in this podcast clip, right? And also think of what he's saying there versus the portrayal of him Critikal puts forward. Guy who only does YouTube to keep doing charity work, isn't that what you've always wanted, is sitting with a crypto scammer and like another crypto bro, Gary Vee, talking about how they just made loads of money through coordinating together as fellow rich people to manipulate the crypto market. Doesn't really seem like someone who doesn't care about money and is only making money to give it to charity. Like, he says he put it all into V-Fronts, which is another Gary Vee NFT thing. Like, is that all going to charity afterwards? Moist Critikal and friends? Mr. Beast Defense Squad? Are you going to tell me all of this shit is going to charity? Or did it probably go into his bank account, which is now paying for his very, very lavish lifestyle? You know the answer. So anyway, like I said, that seems pretty damning. And you think Coffeezilla, the anti-scam guy, the anti-Logan Paul scam guy, would maybe talk about this one day? He hasn't ever spoke about this. They actually did collaborate with Mr. Beast, talking about becoming viral on YouTube.
Finally, talk to the king of virality himself in the hopes of answering that single question. How do you, but mostly me, but also you, go viral? I found out that globally, you were the #2 channel, right behind BTS.
Wait, really? BTS doesn't even post ever.
How does it feel to be the #2 most viral YouTuber?
And that for 2021?
No, 2020.
Oh, well, I don't count that year.
Okay,
I only had
enough.
one channel back then. That's lame. I demand a recount.
So this video was just them two talking about how Mr. Beast makes brain rot content to go viral. I don't even know why it's on the channel besides the guy Coffeezilla just wanting to get clout of having Mr. Beast on his channel, because it doesn't really seem to fit in with the rest of his content. But this is in the same year of the first clip I showed you, but it's months afterwards. So, you know, that clip went viral on Twitter. That's why I saw it. So the anti-scam, anti-Logan Paul guy doesn't really have a problem with one of his accomplices. And then, of course, it's probably because Coffeezilla is also part of the Mr. Beast Defense Squad, in that he started attacking people like myself who criticized Mr. Beast. So here's another video released just before the Mr. Beast collab he did, like the same month. So maybe they filmed it, you know, before or whatever. And it's called Mr. Beast Hasn't Donated Enough. And it's pretty much the same take as Critikal, because the Mr. Beast Defense Squad all have the exact same take on all of these issues, and you're wondering why the YouTube hive mind never turned on Mr. Beast until now.
I just watched Mr. Beast's Squid Game in real life. If you haven't seen it, it's incredible. Basically won the internet for the day. And I had commented, Squid Game in real life is the YouTube video of the year. Amazing attention to detail and hard to believe how fast they did this. Mr. Beast is changing the game. Now, this is not a controversial statement, right? It's like saying the sky is blue. Every person I knew was basically saying the same thing that day. I mean, they just nailed everything from wardrobe to VFX. Even the small safety stuff were just in place. It was perfect. And they made YouTube look good, they gave away money, and they entertained a lot of people. What could be wrong with that? WTF? Your bio says I want to make the world a better place before I die, talking about Mr. Beast. But you're wasting money and resources on building some random Squid Game? You could give millions of dollars to everyone so no one is poor, but instead you waste it on this stupid game. Now, before we get into how bad this take is, look, I get it. It's just one voice, right? That wouldn't bother me. Except that apparently so many people felt this way that it made the actual news. YouTube star Mr. Beast criticized for $3.5 million real-life Squid Game. The social media star stirred up controversy after sharing the 25-minute-long video of Squid Game in which 456 contestants battled it out to win $456,000. And this just set me off. because the guy's entire brand is built around giving money, and it's not even just on camera. I mean, I personally talked to Mr. Beast. I know a ton of people who have met him too, and everyone just says the same thing. Off camera, on camera, he's just a really genuine guy trying to help. And it's even to the point where people criticizing him seem self-aware of the fact that, yeah, this is super unpopular to say, and there's almost nothing controversial here, but I'm going to still find a reason to criticize this guy anyway. I don't get it. It seems to me that a lot of the people who criticize Mr. Beast, they say that they want from their influencers people who are using their platform for good, donating a lot of their personal money, and that's just what Mr. Beast is doing. So it's like people ask for something, it shows up, and then those same people say, not good enough.
So yeah, another member of the Mr. Beast defense squad, basically not even trying to understand the argument. And this constant gaslighting around the arguments against Mr. Beast are why he had a cover for so long. Like, this guy, Moist Critical, they're all saying the same shit. Anyone who criticizes Mr. Beast for anything is just unhinged. How could you do that? Don't you want influencers who give money to people? I thought you would like that. Again, because these guys don't have any coherent political ideology, they can be anti-stuff. You can be anti-scam. That's an easy one. Most people are anti-scams, aren't they? And you build your brand on that, but then you can't understand why people might have a problem with the same economic system in another way, because you're so hyper-focused on one thing. But again, it's so funny. This video comes out after the first report of his workers being treated like shit, and also that crypto shit as well. And this is Coffeezilla, the guy who is known for exposing crypto scams. Has no problem with not talking about it, even though it involves Logan Paul. Then will defend Mr. Beast and he will collaborate with him. And again, for someone like this, it's a multitude of things. He's not a stupid guy in many ways, but these people are just insanely naive. And I guess, like many people, don't like having uncomfortable conversations about people who do charity work. Like, how many people who've done charity have been found out as pieces of shit? Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile. I'm not saying Mr. Beast is at all in that category, because that's like a worst case scenario. But at the same time, it's not a shield against any and all criticism, and you can't come at people using that as deflection from any criticism. But thanks to these people and hundreds of other YouTubers, probably the ones all featured in that recent video, Mr. Beast has never faced proper scrutiny because it was never allowed, and because you'd have lone voices, and even people who would criticize Mr. Beast, let's say Hassan, they'd criticize it from the angle of, Mr. Beast shouldn't have to give people eyesight. Mr. Beast shouldn't have to do charity work. Without actually talking about any problems with actually him specifically doing the charity work, it's always about the issues around a YouTuber doing it. So for years and years, there just has never been an honest conversation about Mr. Beast, despite common sentiments he represents. Like, in most mainstream religions, there's a story about a guy who wants to be seen giving loads to charity and makes a big show of it, and how that person is bad, but the other person who doesn't have much but gives it without making a show of it, that's a good person. And then you have stuff like filming yourself giving a homeless man £50 and putting it on YouTube is exploitative of poverty. Like, we all understand those two things. But when it came to Mr. Beast, no one even wanted to talk about it forever. Again, because of these people who both have financial interests, relationship interests, and just a general, like, naive when it comes to politics, not being willing to engage with the criticism coming from left-wing creators like myself. And now it comes out. The Vegas stuff is an absolute disaster. Mr. Beast treats his workers poorly. There's rumors that they don't use union labor. There's loads of stuff about just the whole operation just being a total mess. And that is unsurprising if you don't think Mr. Beast is wholesome Kino Keanu and you actually see him for what he was, a guy who became a millionaire very, very young, has barely any experience of the real world, and has been doing everything he's doing as a brand move to enrich himself. And now it's not controversial to say that, but that has been controversial to say for years and years because of people like Coffeezilla, Moist Critical, and DeFranco. And one more thing I will say as well, and it's about the YouTube hive mind. It's being proved in the opposite effect now. So the YouTube hive mind, because of people like these and their audiences, the common sentiment online is Mr. Beast is a good guy for doing charity. Everything he does is because of charity. And now it is Mr. Beast is really, really bad. And although I think it's pretty clear why he's bad, I think a lot of people in both situations don't actually understand why they think he's bad. They're just saying it because their favorite YouTuber has said it. And it's just so funny to see people who've defended MrBeast for years to now be sticking the knives in because it's popular. And that's another aspect to this as well. And I don't think it's as relevant to these guys, maybe like knowingly doing it. But yeah, people just say the popular thing because it makes you money. Because it's the financial incentive of YouTube to say MrBeast good one moment and say MrBeast bad another moment. Because if you try to defend MrBeast right now, what's going to happen? You're going to get loads of hate. So you're not going to do it, are you? You're going to be like how I was in 2020 when I was criticizing him and getting him loads of hate because I went against the narrative. So you don't want to be that person because you never wanted to be that person, and it won't make you as much money from all your views on YouTube. So you're not going to do that, even if you believed it, because a lot of these people also believe nothing. They will just say the popular thing because the popular thing is always profitable. So I guess if there's any point of this video beyond like highlighting the MrBeast defense squad, it's just, you know, don't trust millionaire YouTubers who are friends with all their stupid opinions, even if it seems like they're right. Like, think for yourself, and the main thing from a left-wing person, be skeptical of rich people. Be skeptical of rich people filming themselves doing good things as well, and also believe workers when loads of them come out and say working conditions are bad, because you're far closer to being a worker being treated bad, if you're not one already, than you are to being someone like MrBeast. So please keep that in mind, and that is it for the video. Nice and political for you, everyone who's complaining about that. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.